I built this MM130-0 frame here not too long ago, and I like to fly this with other people because everything is protected. When I was flying in the last race, we had somebody hit me, knock me out of the air, and I landed on the ground right side up, and I was able to take off and keep flying. No damage to anything, maybe a little bit to the carbon fiber, but it's barely noticeable. Then I was flying again, and someone else nailed me again, and this time it landed upside down. And after somebody kicked me up over right side up, I was able to take off and fly again. And in both scenarios, it broke the other person's quad, but this one was able to keep flying because of all the protection it has. Well, anyway, this is a 130 frame, and today we're going to take a look at another 130 frame without all the protection. It's called the Real ACC RX 130. And it comes also available in a 150, but I didn't buy that one, I bought the 130. So it comes in a bag like this. We'll get this thing opened up. We'll take a little look at it and see what all comes with it. So here are all the components that come in a kit. The main plate here, the two side plates, the middle plate, and the upper plate. And then there's also this extra little plate. I'm not really sure where that's supposed to go, but we'll figure it out. Comes with the Motec power distribution board, which is kind of becoming the standard board that a lot of quads come with. The nice thing about it has a 5 volt and a 12 volt output on it, so you can power your video transmitter, your camera, and your flight board off of it. Comes with two different lengths of screws, some that are a little bit longer than the other ones. A set of 4 spacers to hold your power distribution board in place, and it comes with some knurled spacers. These are the longer ones. They're about 27 millimeters thick, or long, I guess, and they're designed to go sideways inside the frame. Then it has these little shorter ones, and these are 8 millimeters, and there's 4 of those. So let me see this main plate here. I think this is 3 millimeters. Yeah, the main plate is about 3 millimeters thick and actually feels pretty light, so I think this will be kind of interesting build. Anyway, let me get this thing put together and we'll take a little closer look at it. Here's what the first part of the frame being assembled looks like. I ran the longer screw up through the bottom, through the little plastic nut, and then into the power distribution board that was included with the kit. Then on top of that, the nylon spacer, followed by a flight board, and this flight board actually has the pins installed. You can see it's a real tight fit with the pins, but I was able to get the screws put in all the way. So I guess you could use pins, but you're better off soldering on these little small 130s. But then on top of that, I have the spacer followed by a little short screw up on top, and so that is all there is to holding the bottom section. The top section has these these side plates slide on over these long parts, and this slides on over the other side, and with the spacers in between, that's what holds it all together. And this is what it looks like with the rest of the pieces in place. The top plate and the back plate back here on the two sides. Now, this looks like it's designed to have the video transmitter sit right inside this area on the inside of this board. That way you could zip tie it to this pretty easily, and the antenna would come straight up out of this hole, which would give it a little bit more strength and crashes and hopefully not break your video transmitter. Also, your receiver would probably sit up here on top and zip tie it in. That way, that's up out of the way, and the only thing left to go on the inside would be HS11 77 style of camera, like this Fox ear that I have that I broke in another crash on my X210. But this will fit, just barely fit in between these two plates if I take it apart, which I'll do here in just a second. But it'll fit down just inside of these two holes here on the side, so that way you can adjust your angle. And here's what it looks like with the camera installed. And you can see the camera just mounts straight back to here, so if you tilt this up, you lose a little bit of room back here, but if your video transmitter is staying back here in this area, the camera is not going to interfere with it, and you're still going to be able to get some pretty good camera angle. And see, it's still not sticking back quite to the video transmitter yet. So you get some pretty good angle out of this. And this has the, you can see it there, the connector coming out the bottom of the quad instead, or out the bottom of the camera instead of the top. And that helps to get a little bit more angle. But I mean, now we're talking like 45, maybe 50 degree camera angle. And this frame still supports it. Like I said, you just got to make sure you keep that video transmitter back here out of the way and your receiver up out of the way as well, and you should be able to fly this, with no problem. In fact, that camera makes the whole quad look kind of small. The holes in these arms are cut for 1306 or 1806 motors. This is an 1806 motor that I destroyed, but with the hole alignment here, this thing can fit on here, and you should be able to screw in all 4 holes, all 4 screws with no problem. I'm not doing a very good job holding it there. But if you have something like a 22 size motor, the hole spacing is way too different, and you're not going to have these on there without doing massive drilling. And also, these are going to be way too heavy for a frame this size. So here's the RX-130 with the power distribution board and the flight board in there. We'll go ahead and weigh it like this and see how much it comes in at. 61.1 grams, and I'll go ahead and put a note up here how much the flight board weighs so that we don't have to count that in the weight against the other frames. This frame is marketed as a 130, so if I line up the 0 here, which you can barely see, and I come over here, you can tell it's actually spot on to 130. So this is actually really a 130. Now, one thing I didn't mention before is that you need to put your battery strap in through here before you put this thing together, because look how much space there is inside there. If you don't get it through at the beginning, you're going to be tearing it apart to get it in later. Yeah, so here's the 130 next to the MM130 frame, and also an X210. This thing just looks like a little mini dwarf compared to the X210, and these actually both look small compared to the MM130 just because of all the extra mass that this thing has. But if I put this up here, you can see they're actually both about the same size. They're both 130 size frames. And yeah, they're about the same size, which is kind of funny just because when they sit down next to each other like this one just overpowers it in terms of size. One more comparison, this is a 150 size frame versus a 130, and it looks a lot bigger, and side to side this thing is like massively bigger than this. But going from center of motor to the center of motor, it's not excessively longer, but it's just a 150 instead of a 130 size frame. This is a 3-inch dowel prop. If I center this over the hole, up here in the front, there's really nothing for it to hit on the frame. It should be able to clear all of the frame just fine. Back here on the back, as long as you're not using really tall motors where it gets up anywhere up here above here, then you should be fine clearing the inside. Now, you do have to be careful of your video transmitter wires hanging down too low, or the thing sagging down and this motor being too tall and you hitting that video transmitter. But this will spin 3-inch props. Somebody said something about 4-inch props. Yeah, they're not going to fit at all. You pretty much have 0 chance. If you got a 150, maybe it'd fit on there. The only disappointment I had about this frame was that it was designed for full-size flight boards. The newer flight boards, such as this one here, are coming out, and they are 20 millimeters between the center holes on the flight board, whereas these are 30 millimeters across here. And if I hold this up here, you can see how much shorter it actually is than the 30 millimeter. Now, the big advantage of these is, of course, that they weigh less. This also is a power distribution board, and it supports up to 4S. So if you put it in a quad like this, you're actually able to eliminate a lot of weight. You don't have to have the power distribution board. You also have a lot smaller flight board installed here, and it also has a full-size USB port. You can't really see it. It's on the bottom. It's on there. There you can kind of see it. But the full-size USB port allows you to program this just like you would any other flight board. But the RX-130 doesn't have the holes to support it. But that kind of stinks. So this is the real ACC 130 size quadcopter. I think this would be a pretty fun build. If you're going to build this, you need to plan on doing a lot of direct soldering, because you're not going to have a lot of room anywhere for a lot of wires to wrap around. If you're not comfortable with soldering directly, then you should probably look at getting a different quadcopter frame than this one, because this build's going to be tight and it's going to be clean when you're done. Otherwise, if it's not clean, your propeller is going to be chomping up wires. Anyway, if you have any questions about this quadcopter, leave them in the comments. I will try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.